Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk about some current events going on right now in the country of France, the city of Paris to be exact, a suburb of Paris called Nanterre. It's the assassination of a 17-year-old French Muslim teen uh, named Nahal M. This teen, he was out with friends late last night when he was gunned down purposely, Haley. So it's going on by police uh, and shot. And after that, in their own George Floyd esque moment, 758 French people were arrested in riots and many more. And I anticipate that this will go on for days and days because this is a boiling over situation that has been boiling over for decades. To explain a little bit of the background, this young kid was North African, and North African people in France have always faced discrimination and racism and marginalization in the society. Algerian people, he was specifically Algerian, but Algerians, Moroccans, Tunisians, North Africans began to arrive in France following World War II. And unlike the United States, France did not have experience with immigration, did not have experience in how to meld different cultures into a melting pot. So, what they ended up doing was putting the North African population and the West African population, their former colonies, whom they called on to rebuild the country. So, after exploiting the country, after exploiting these nations, when they needed help to rebuild after World War II, they called on these nations. And what did they do to the people? They put them in the suburbs, in places like Marseille, places like Bordeaux, and places like Nanterre, where this kid was from. And they also passed several laws banning Muslim headscarves, banning Muslim practices in public schools in France under the guise of pushing Western secularism. And in 2016, they nearly elected Marie Le Pen, whose father was a collaborator with the occupation of France of the Nazis, the Vichy occupation of France of the Nazis in World War II. So this environment of anti-Muslim sentiment, this environment of marginalization, this environment of discrimination has been going on in French society for as long as there have been Algerian and North African people in France. Keep in mind, Algeria only gained independence from France in 1962. And it was during this time in 1962 when the Algerians actually kicked off Pied Noir French settlers from their soil and actually regained their own sovereignty. But because they were robbed, denigrated, and basically stripped of all their minerals and all their resources, unlike some Arab nations, the North Africans in French society, or they call them the Belaires of French society, had to come to France in order to gain a living and gain sustenance. And they weren't integrated into the society. They created, in fact, a dual society, a dual, like a ghettoization. Unlike the United States, where immigrants are melded in, it was more like segregation. It was more like segregation. And as a lot of people have often said, and France should know this from their own history, when you give the people nothing, they will respond with violence. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, in 1789, France became the first Western nation to experience a revolution. And what did the King of France, Louis the 16th, wife say at that time? Let them eat cake. Well, France is hasn't learned from their historical experiences because once again they are letting the Algerian people of this society eat cake and suffer persecution. So this kid, what happened to this kid is systemic of what's been happening in French society for the longest time. I remember watching that movie La Haine, a movie about an Algerian kid, a black kid, and a Jewish kid in a French project, and how they faced racism from the cops, racism from neo Nazis, and racism from anti-immigration, the immigration population. So this is their George Floyd movement. This is their moment to reflect on the centuries and centuries and the decades and decades of systemic racism that has existed within the society. And we see this not only from Nigeria, I mean, not only from Algerians, but from Tunisians, from Moroccans, anybody basically in French society. So, but the good thing about this situation, though, is Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, actually came out in support of the protesters. Unlike here in the United States and other places where we've seen this kind of thing. We saw this in 2011 in London when the teen Mark Duggan was shot. It was like rioting for days and days in London. And at that time, the Prime Minister of the UK did not come out in support of the protesters. And of course, during 2016, the George Floyd incident here in the United States, the President of the United States did not come out in support of the protesters. And the same thing in Israel, in Tel Aviv in 2019 when Salika died. So we've seen this around the world. We've seen this different sorts of, of protest. But my support is for Nahal M and his family. Condolences to them, and I support them because if there's any place to ever stir a revolution and social change, it's definitely France. Because, like I said, uh, uh, liberty and fraternity and all those great things that the French Revolution back in the 18th century was supposed to embody extends to all people and is the true revolutionary spirit of the world. So peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see my next videos coming out. Love you.